Okay, so the Clippers are absolutely terrible. They're dog water. They're trash. They're absolutely booty. And they're not good. And all the above. Alright, that's the video. Peace. Just kidding, but seriously, let's talk about why the heck the Clippers are just so egregiously terrible. So going into the season, I really didn't have much expectations for the Clippers, at least when it comes to being a championship contender. But I still thought the Clippers had a good enough roster to be the number 6 seed, 7 seed, 8 seed, hell, 9 or 10 seed if anything. In my offseason video talking about the Clippers, I talked about the Norman Powell and John Collins trade. And initially, I kind of liked it because, number one, they had to trade Norman Powell because they wouldn't have any money to extend him. Plus, they needed a 4 to guard guys like Aaron Gordon, Giannis, KD, Draymond. They needed those type of guys instead of having Kawhi be the number 4. And Kawhi slides back to his natural position at the number 3 spot. And Nick Batum being 40 years old and not having the same type of bounce that he had when he was in his prime, like let's say when he was like 30 years old or when he first started with the Clippers in 2020, 2021, they needed a young, bouncier athletic forward. And that's what they got in John Collins. And initially, again, I actually kind of liked it for them because I thought it addressed their needs. In the same offseason, they got Bradley Beal from the Suns. I believe it was from a trade, or I think the Suns waived his contract and the Clippers gave him a contract or something like that. I thought he was a good replacement for Norman Powell because I thought Bradley can score in the same type of ways that Norman can. He's a good shooter, good mid-range guy. He can create, but at the time, I thought Bradley was a better playmaker than Norm, and I thought he's a better defender than Norman Powell. So here's some context. When Norman wasn't hitting his shots against the Nuggets, he really couldn't make up for it with his defense because he's not a bad defender. He's just going to get picked on by guys like Jamal Murray, Christian Brown, Russell Westbrook at the time. And I thought Bradley Beal would replace that type of production if his offense didn't get going. And it turns out I was wrong about that too because of this one fact right here. Bradley Beal has missed plenty of games so far with the Clippers, and he's going to miss the rest of the season with a fractured hip. And the problem with that, looking back at it, is that Bradley Beal really didn't contribute much for the Clippers in the games he did play because what? He averaged only 8.2, which is his lowest since his rookie year as a Washington Wizard in 20 minutes? Oh, come on, bro. And he wasn't that efficient either. 37.5% from the field, 36% from 3. So, yeah, I guess he was low-key hitting his threes on minimal attempts. But still, it's just like they got you for a reason to fill that scoring that Norman left. And look at what Norman is doing with the Miami Heat. Norman, as of right now, is averaging career highs across the board, especially in points per game. Norman is averaging 25.5 a game for the Miami Heat. And I'm pretty sure the Clippers could use that right about now because outside of James Harden, they really don't have any scoring. Especially since Kawhi Leonard, yes, the NBA con artist Kawhi Leonard with the aspiration scandal. I covered that a few months ago when it was still the offseason. Kawhi, of course, he's in street clothes yet again. And at this point, Kawhi, brother, you should retire. I love you, man. You're still one of my favorite players, but you gotta let it go. It's time to hang it up, buddy. Like, come on, man. Like, these injuries are piling up, and then you have a scandal right behind you. And then it's just like, man, you and Bradley Beal are just stealing the Clippers' money at this point, which is really ironic considering the scandal that him and Steve Ballmer went through by literally bribing, I think it was Steve Ballmer that bribed Kawhi Leonard $28 million to essentially do nothing to lure him away from the Toronto Raptors in 2019 to get him on the LA Clippers, which is pretty funny to me looking at it, but it's also kind of sad. And then Bradley Beal just is stealing everyone's money because on being on a bad Washington team, everyone was convinced he was good. And Bradley Beal still could be a good player, but at this point, he's number one, he's on the wrong side of 30 as well. And number two, it's just like, those stats were inflated. He was a much better player when he was playing next to John Wall on the Wizards, and he was a much better defender playing next to John Wall. Remember, he beat up Isaiah Thomas in that series versus the Celtics, along with Kelly Oubre Jr., Otto Porter, and even John Wall himself. But let's talk about how bad the Clippers really are, y'all. The Clippers are not only number 23 in defensive efficiency, I'm looking at it off of StatMuse. If you're below average, you are a really bad team. The teams that are worse than them are the Charlotte Hornets and the injured Pacers, which obviously that season is a wash for them because they don't have Tyrese Halliburton, and guys like Andrew Nembhard, Ben Mathurin, TJ McConnell, and all these cats are suffering injuries, and they don't have a center since Miles Turner made his way to the Milwaukee Bucks. And the only teams that are better than the Clippers are the Portland Trailblazers, which I thought they were going to be a much better defensive team. And then you have the Bulls, the Bucks, and then the Memphis Grizzlies, which I'm kind of surprised that they're outside the top 20 considering their turmoil that they're going through with Ja Morant. And it's going to get even worse because their only athletic wing that can defend the perimeter and Derrick Jones Jr. will be out for 6 weeks with an MCL sprain. So expect to see him back before the February trade deadline. And one of the problems with the Clippers, and yes, you could point this at Ty Lue as well because his schemes are really outdated and his offensive scheme is really not good. It's just James Harden initiate the offense, dribble, 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 and one pass to this guy, one pass to that guy. And it's kind of like that BS Horns wheel route that the Lakers used to run when we had Russell Westbrook and LeBron and AD as a trio, quote unquote. But let's get to the defense. One of the things that the Clippers are really bad at is not only staying in front of their man, but again, you have old guys out there. I mean, why am I seeing Chris Paul, Nick Batum, and Brook Lopez out on the floor together? Those guys cannot be on the floor together in big 2025, bruh. And Bogey Bogdanovic, he's never been a defender. Yeah, I guess he could be decent if he tries, but you're asking a lot. James Harden is who he is as a defender. And again, Derrick Jones is the only guy that could really stay in front of his man. And because of the fact the other guys are not really great defensively, Derrick Jones has to pick up the slack, and it puts a lot of pressure on him. John Collins is okay. Chris Dunn can defend, but that's what he's known for. He can't really do much outside of, I guess, hit a couple threes. But even then, you're asking too much. Nick Batum is old and he's washed, and I love some Batum. Kawhi is never there. Brook Lopez. Like, you have old guys, bro, and you have young dudes on your squad that can play both ends of the floor, and Ty Lue, as much as I love him, chooses not to play them. For example, this kid named Kobe Sanders is a baller, bro. Last game, I saw him score 17 points against Philly. The kid has a smooth jumper, bro. Like, his jumper kind of reminds me of Norman Powell, yet a little more smoother, right? He has that smooth Paul George jumper, but he has like Norman Powell's shooting base or something like that, if that makes sense. But he's a willing driver to the rim, too, and he has such a good finishing touch as well. And he's a decent defender in his own right, being like, what, 6'7", 6'8"? Don't insert any 6'7" jokes here, man. But another reason why the Clippers are bad offensively is because they average 15 turnovers a game. Obviously, James Harden being the main guy handling the ball, he's going to have 4 turnovers. I haven't watched too much of Clippers games, but if you're turning the ball over that much, you're not going to fare well offensively. One of the reasons why SGA and the Thunder are really good on offense is because they limit their turnovers. You're seeing teams like the Detroit Pistons with Cade Cunningham, and even with Cade out, their guys are not turning the ball over. Their guys look way more organized than the Clippers. Hell, the Mavericks are worse than the Clippers, and those guys are going through a tailspin themselves, especially with the Fire Nico saga being over. I covered it last week in my video. One of the very few good things I can say about the Clippers is that James Harden is balling. He's going to get no slander from me. Yes, he has 4 turnovers on the year, or he's averaging 4 turnovers on the year, I should say. But he's the reason why the Clippers have had a chance in a good amount of these games that they lost. James Harden, in the game against Boston, nearly went T-Mac. I mean, the guy nearly won the game, or I should say, tied the game by himself by hitting crazy 3 after crazy 3, and he just missed it at the buzzer. In that OT game, the 2 OT game against Dallas, he had 41, and last game against his old team, the Philadelphia 76ers, he had 28. Again, he's not going to be the most efficient player, but the thing about it is, he's the reason why the Clippers have had a chance in half of these ball games. I mean, look, James Harden missed the 3 that could have tied the game against the Atlanta Hawks. But here's the thing. He's their only source of offense. And again, James Harden has the green light. And Ivica Zubac, he's a stud, man. But I feel like his time with the Clippers is done. And I feel like for the better of his career, if Zoo wants to win somewhere, it ain't going to be with the Clippers. He's going to have to get moved somewhere else. I don't know where, but I feel like there are other teams that could use a good center like that. And I feel like James Harden has unlocked Ivica Zubac, something that a lot of point guards of the past, whether you want to talk about Russell Westbrook, Reggie Jackson, or Pat Bev, Lou Will, SGA. Maybe SGA could unlock Zoo right now with the way Shea plays. But and you date back to the Lakers. Not even Lonzo Ball and LeBron can unlock Zubac the way James Harden is unlocking Zubac right before our very eyes. So those are the only two outside the younger guys on the Clippers that are really balling for this team right now. But they're 4-10 on the year, and it doesn't look like things are going to get better for them going forward. And I don't expect them to make the playoffs. If they can turn their season around, I will make a follow-up video on how wrong I was with the Clippers. And again, I know Philly is really good right now, but I have to wait until 25 to like 30 games into the season. And if they end up being a really, really good team, I will happily say that I'm wrong about the 76ers, and same with the Clippers. If they could turn around somehow and start getting on a winning streak, they can I will definitely make a video saying, okay, I was wrong about the Clippers. But right now, I have every right to say this. The Clippers are trash. The Clippers are bums. It's time to pack it up, CP3. It's time to pack it up, Nicholas Batum. It's time to pack it up, Brook Lopez. And most importantly, Kawhi Leonard, take that $28 million and go retire at a nice island in Cancun somewhere, because obviously you do not care about playing basketball, brother. And before I let y'all go, I just want to say this real quick. If the Clippers continue to go on this tailspin and they decide to tank the year and say that this season's a bust, or they decide to blow it up and you trade James Harden, which I will get to that as like the final part of this video, but if they continue this little tailspin that they're going through, they really don't have an advantage in the draft, because remember that Shai Gilgeous and Paul George trade is aging worse and worse in front of our eyes, because think about how much the Clippers have to give up. They not only give up Shai, who became the Finals MVP, but guess who else OKC has that the Clippers could have had? J-Dub, Jalen Williams, and the number 8 overall pick in the number 8 overall pick in the 2026 draft is going to belong to OKC because of the Paul George trade they made in the summer of 2019 to get PG. And let me tell y'all, like I said, that trade for PG is aging worse and worse and worse as time goes by, because they essentially have all of the Clippers draft capital and they have an MVP. Again, I hate the whole foul baiting thing. Y'all can call him a foul baiter, blah, 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 blah. He's still a champion. He could have been that with the Clippers. I guess it's easier said now than it was back then, because SGA was still raw and you get a PG who just came off of an MVP year. I get that. But even still, the amount of stuff they had to give up to get PG is aging worse and worse in front of our eyes. I don't care about, recency bias. It's still bad. You know what I mean? So this is just a big time tailspin that the Clippers are going through, and they deserve every bit of criticism and slander they get. And you also want to know one thing, and this is where I'll let y'all go. Knowing James Harden, I know for a fact that he is going to want to get traded off this team, and I do not blame him. Shoot, man, you could trade him back to Houston. They could use a point guard, especially in the playoffs, because again, I said this in my week 1 of the NBA video, that if you're having Amen Thompson and Reed Shepherd as your main point guards, I know they're balling right now, but they could benefit off of having a guy like Harden, and Harden wouldn't have to be the main guy because the main guys are going to be KD and Şengün. So you put James on that team, I think it'll do pretty good for him, in all honesty. If you Rockets fans disagree with me, that's fine. But I just felt like, James Harden is going to request a trade. And this time around, I wouldn't blame him, because the Clippers are just so dysfunctional. It's enough they have this scandal that's still looming large. The PG trade in 2019 is still haunting them to this very day, and everything else in between. And then their roster is just full of old guys. So yeah, the Clippers are in a tailspin. If you're a Clippers fan, just vent to me in the comments. And if you guys disagree with me, just explain your perspective why. But I don't know, man. The Clippers, again, they deserve every bit of slander they get. But yeah, that's enough slandering the Clippers right now. I will be ready to do it even more as the season goes by if they continue this tailspin. But yeah, let me know y'all thoughts. That's the end of this video. I'm X. Deuces. And by the way, LeBron's making his debut tonight. I might make a video, like a quick little video talking about that. So yeah, stay tuned. Peace.